Morning, we're going to show you how to use the 24-inch Powermatic surface planer. I'm going to go over how to use it. I'm going to go over part names, and we're going to make sure that everybody is sure how to use the machine safely. Okay, a couple of things that we need to show you in terms of parts. This is a speed control. On my 24-inch Powermatic surface planer, we leave the speed control at the slowest rate, because the slower the boards feed through the planer, the better cut that they'll have. Okay, next, shifting this way, this is the in-feed table. Then as you look into the machine only with it off, there's a middle table, and on the other side there's an out-feed table with rollers that help feed the board through the machine. On the 24-inch Powermatic surface planer, the blades are located on the top, and the boards need to be at least 14 inches to go through the surface planer. Okay, next is, this is an elevating hand wheel lock. You loosen this, and then you can take the elevating hand wheel and rotate it clockwise to move the tables up, and you rotate it counterclockwise to move the tables down. Table is related to the depth scale. The depth scale is how much you're taking off, or how thick your boards are. Every time you run a board through the surface planer, you're going to take off a 1/16 of an inch. One rotation of the elevating hand wheel is equal to a 1/16 of an inch. Once you get the elevating hand wheel set, you tighten up the elevating hand wheel lock, and now you're all set to use it. The Powermatic surface planer can plane a board up to 8 inches thick, up to a board that is 24 inches wide, and in our room you could plane a board as long as you had things moved out of the way, opened up the garage door, and we have planed a board as long as 20 feet. Okay, a couple other things just to point out. The surface planer takes the surface of the board and turns it into a smooth surface like this board. You look at this board, this is another piece of pine. This is a rough board. Always when you plane the boards, you plane them the curved side up on the convex side, and you start out with that and then you work down. Most of our boards here are 1 inch thick, and we usually move down to 3/4 of an inch thick. So those are a couple of things that we want to make sure everybody understands about the surface planer. Moving to the other side, we're going to show you some safety stuff. As a board comes through the surface planer, there's a little guide on the table. And so we've had one little accident on the planer where the board came out through like this, the board turned sideways, and a person had their finger caught between the little guide and the board. So we want to make sure that people don't put their fingers here. As a board comes out, make sure that it has cleared the edge of the outfeed table, and you grab the board and it gets fed out, and then you can hand it back to the operator on the other side. So that's a safety tip that we want to make sure everybody understands, so nobody gets their fingers caught here. Okay, back to the other side. Taking a look at the machine operation sheet, which is a machine operation sheet that shows all the part names. It shows some things that you have to do prior to using the surface planer. So I'd like to go over those 10 things prior to using the planer. Probably will include a couple others. Okay, first off is you have to wear a pair of safety glasses while using the surface planer. They're located in the white cabinet beside the door. The second thing is you're going to need a pair of headphones, which are located right here on the headphone storage rack. Surface planer is fairly loud, so we want to make sure that people are protected. The third thing is you're going to come over here. In my room, we have an exhaust system, which you turn on here, which will take all of the sawdust from the planer out the pipe and out to the little gray bin outside the door. It holds about 2 bags of shavings, but it helps us with cleanup and make sure that it's safe while we use it. So the exhaust has to be on. The next thing on the list is making sure that this little vent is open, which allows the sawdust to travel up the pipe. We close the vents to create more suction on other machines. The next thing that you have to do is you have to take the board to be planed, and you're going to measure the middle part here and the other end, and you're measuring the thickness of your board. Okay, so that is step number 5. Your next step is, if this is an inch board, you're going to loosen your elevating hand wheel lock. You're going to crank the elevating hand wheel until this is set up at 1 inch. Once it's set for 1 inch, you're going to tighten that back up. Once that's set, a couple other things that you need to do. Make sure that your area is clean. Make sure you have a partner. Make sure your partner has safety glasses and headphones on. And make sure that they are prepared for you to turn the surface planer on. Next, make sure that you check in with me and make sure that you get my permission to use the machine. The other thing is you want to make sure that no sweatshirt strings, no loose clothing, no loose dangly belts, and make sure that everybody is prepared that's working with planer. The next step is, once you have your safety stuff on and you've gone through all those steps, you're going to come over here and you're going to turn the machine on. You're going to turn on the green button. You're going to push this into the forward position. Now you're ready to use the planer. You're going to place your board on the in-feed table. Right there, the in-feed rollers will get a hold of your board. You're going to stand to the left-hand side. The board will feed through the planer, and the person on the other side will catch that. If a board goes sideways like this, you're going to push this in-feed rollers back to the off position. Put it back into the reverse position so it goes back like this. Straighten your board out. Make sure it goes back into the forward position and then feed through the machine. While operating the machine, do not stand in front of the throat of the machine because we're in fear of kickback. And don't let other people walk through this area while you're using the tool. Once you're done using the surface planer, you're going to push the red button and turn it off. Put the in-feed roller back to the off position. Let the machine come to a complete stop, and then you can take off your safety stuff once the machine is totally stopped. The last thing is making sure that you know what you're doing. I have Woodtech book on page 278, which has an explanation of how to use the planer, has some safety tips. That's a resource that we leave underneath where the white cabinet, underneath where the safety glasses are. We also have machine operation sheet book where people can refer back to, and they can look at the 10 steps to do before starting the machine. And then the last thing is, after our lesson, we have to sign my personal protective equipment hazard assessment book. And under the surface planer, we've gone through and listed all the hazards of the machine. and you have to go through and you have to sign it saying that we had a lesson on the surface planer and that you understand what you're doing. Thank you.